Evening, everyone. I am so excited to have you join us again for another More Life series brought to you by More Life Trauma Care, where more life brings more life. Our topic this evening is men who suffer in silence. And I'm excited to have this panel of great men from speaking from various lenses, various experiences, just to share some hope and some strength with you on this evening. One thing I'm learning about me, and I'm learning it. I'm not a man, but I'm learning it as a therapist and the work that we do. Men do suffer in silence. Prayerfully, this webinar will help other men also give wives or daughters some information about how do they work about what's going to be talked about. We're going to talk about some spiritual pain, emotional pain, trauma, grief, and anxiety and other mental health issues that men just don't seek help for. So I'm going to have my panelists introduce themselves. I am going to start out with Chris. I'll start with you, and then we'll move up and around and back down.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chris Snyder. I'm a marriage and family therapist. I'm also a life coach. I'm no longer in my private practice, and that'll probably come up during this discussion. However, in my coaching and teaching, I see all disconnection as a performance anxiety issue, and I try to weave that in our discussion as well.
Okay. My name is Gary Tate Jr. I'm from Columbus, Ohio, but now live in Cincinnati, Ohio. I serve as principal at Rothenberg Preparatory Academy in downtown Cincinnati, and I just completed my 24th year of education.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Gary.
Good evening. I'm Pastor Ronnie Wade from the Anointed Touch Ministries. We've been pastoring there for the last 15 years, and we've been ministering to a young group, and we want to really endow them with the Word of God.
Thank you, Pastor Ronnie.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Terrence Woods. I am originally from Columbus, Ohio. I currently reside in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I am a man suffering in silence. And you guys will hear my story today.
Thanks, Terrence.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Malcolm Marshall, born and raised and still residing here in Columbus, Ohio. I'm a music producer and co-founder of Plan A Publishing, as well as, husband, father, brother, son, all of the above, and have my own journey as far as mental health goes, and happy to share that today, and grateful for the opportunity to be amongst great company and hopefully pass along some words of encouragement.
All right. So our first question for this evening would be: I would like all of you to share about why do you think men's mental health is an important topic, and what we could do. We can popcorn. We don't have to go in no kind of order. Just kind of share your thoughts.
I can start us out. I would say men's mental health is an urgent topic, just based on what we see, in our community. I think there's been a lot of attention, regarding mental health, and historically not a whole lot of attention around men's mental health, and we've unfortunately gotten to see some of the consequences, of ignoring that and kind of putting that to the side. I think as a society, we have collectively, bought into the idea of men, mostly providing and seeking their value and what they can provide to communities, what they can provide to their family, what they can provide to a company or to a job, and not as much focus has been on, just valuing ourselves as humans, as individuals, and that takes a toll on our mental health, which ultimately affects everybody else. So I think, men's mental health in particular is something that we all need to just pay more attention to, actively participate in, continue to create spaces for one another to share and be vulnerable. We all grow through a lot. Life is hard for everybody, and having an opportunity to release and talk and vent, and just get some ears um, get some ears from trusted confidants, and just having the space to just show up and be human and not have to keep your cape on is something that we need more of. And again, grateful to be in this space. Grateful to share some of my journey and opportunity, and looking forward to hearing some of your thoughts as well from some of the other gentlemen we have on the panel. I'll pass it over to you, Gary.
Vet, ask that question again so I'll make sure I can answer it correctly.
Okay. Why do you think men's mental health is an important topic?
So I'm gonna go beyond that and look at Black men's mental health.
Okay.
I don't know what it's like to be another man. I know what it's like to be a Black man. Our mental health, and growing up in the 80s and the 90s, was a big stigma that we was something we didn't even talk about. Even in the earlier 2000s, even the 2010s, it's more recently in the 2020s that you would hear about men, Black men, starting to understand mental health or getting mental health support. So it's a major thing. Like Malcolm said, we lead majority of the time. We always had these Superman capes on, and it's not too often that we get to speak to anybody, but besides our barber. And you know, they were the first therapist for all of us.
Amen.
But you know, they don't get paid for that, so we have to seek therapy from a true professional. And then even in the church, it was a stigma. You know, go pray to Jesus; He'll take care of everything. I say go pray to Jesus and then go holler at your therapist, because it's all needed. So, as us being leaders in our communities, in our households, and everywhere, our mental health is major, because if our mental health is not right, the house is not right. And I'm talking about whether it's the schoolhouse, the business, the church, your own house, wherever. If our house is not right, the neighborhood is not right. If men's mental health is not right, and I believe a lot of the violence that you see in our communities with the cease and desist, if our mental health was right and was being taken care of.
Thanks, Gary. Who you passing it to, Gary?
I'll take it.
Okay.
I believe mental health is just so important. The fact that the enemy knows how to attack your mental capacity before anything else, as long as he can captivate your mind and keep you under and keep you sequestered. And we don't trust much, so we don't really take our problems to anybody. And we sit there in silence, and we kind of suffer because we feel emasculated to some degree, to where we just don't want nobody to know that, you know, we're not all of that. Sometimes we've got this false facade that we wear all the time because we're Superman, and we don't want nobody to know that we're suffering. So we sit there and we suffer. And that's one of the biggest problems I think we have. We don't have a safe place to really talk to. Even at our homes, we have to appear to be a mighty man. And, you know, you bring your problems to us, you bring your problems to me, but I'm sitting up here struggling also sometimes. And whenever I come out a little bit, somebody tells me to man up. You ain't supposed to be right there. Well, I am right there because I'm hurting right now, and you're not listening to me. And so sometimes we suffer and we trying to hurt because of that situation. That scenario plays out a lot of times in life. I'm from the 50s and the 60s. I'm from that generation, and I've seen society change from baby boomers to Generation X to millennials, now to Gen Z, and I don't know what's next. And it's just changed so drastically from all of those generations. And now the buck stops here to where we can talk about it freely and get some help from one another. We can glean off of each other's situation.
That's beautiful, Pastor Ronnie. That's beautiful. You want to go ahead, Terrence?
Yes. Why I think that it is an important topic for men's mental health is because nobody knows. Nobody knows until you speak. That's why you have a voice. You have to speak. You have to speak up. In order for somebody to know, that's when you release and you get it out. I suffer for a long time, and my mental health is very important to me. And the reason why that it is an important topic, another reason why it is an important topic, is because we as Black men, we do suffer. We suffer in a greater capacity more than any other race out there, because we want to hold ourselves to a standard. We want to hold ourselves to this almighty And with that, we can't do that. We have to be open.
Yeah,
We have to be open.
Mhm.
that's good. That's good. Thanks, Terrence. Chris?
Yes, the biggest thing is that with the right amount of help, with the right resources, you can get better with your mental health. I don't know how that came out grammar wise, but statistics research shows you hook up with a therapist, you hook up with a counselor, you hook up in the right resources, you hook up with your support group, um, you hook up with someone. You may need medication for a little while, although you feel crazy and overwhelmed, because the first thing when you say, why do you think men's mental health is so important? Because it's controllable. It usually starts with our thoughts, and we don't have the tools to manage our thoughts.
Mm,
And that's where the anxiety comes in. That's where the red coat alert goes off. That's where the hormones start flying for the fight, flight, freeze response. That's where the chronic stress stays in there. That affects your physical health. Now you got these toxins running through your body, eating up your organs.
mm,
And then, like a couple of them touched on, if culture says what toughness is, most men usually demonstrate that in anger. That's hence what one of the guys said about crashing out and now we shooting each other, because we don't have the emotional regulation or not interested in getting it, because that's not what being a man is. So when we say, why do you think men's mental health is important, is because it's treatable.
So, Chris,
Yes.
thank you for that. And so, for you, the question is, what is the difference between being strong and suffering alone?
Sometimes it's confused, because being strong sometimes is, I don't want to talk to nobody, I handle it by myself. On the other hand, suffering in silence is isolation. The worst thing we can do is isolate. On the far end of isolation, I think it's catching up where it's showing 16 to 29-year-olds, Black males, have caught and passed everybody else. Most of that stuff is happening in isolation.
Mm,
So, like the Grinch, we going up on Mount Crumpet and don't want to be bothered with nobody, and there's consequences for that. Now we back to our physical health. In prison, they put them in confinement, and look how they come out. We're built for connection. So now, being strong on the other end, most people, most families don't see their men in their family cry until their funeral.
mm,
So when we talk about, if you're familiar with Jason Wilson, I recommend anybody start listening to his stuff. He explains it this way. Most men only got 8 crayons in the box. Women have 64. Women have been allowed to express themselves. Women have been, won't nobody come at a woman for crying. We only got 8: anger, mad, sad, and that's about it. So men, when we talk about being strong, have to start reading books, engaging in like webinars, and start increasing their crayons in the box. Most of the stuff is cultural. Most of the stuff, when you fall down, get up. Men don't cry, and heard that, still hear it. The music, the movies we watch. So being strong is what I would encourage, is to become appropriate masculinity, showing empathy, hugging, expressing emotions, using your crayons, using your tools. Again, I talked about speak to your spiritual advisor about meditation, yoga, those things that's questionable spiritually. That's how you be strong. That's how you calm your nervous system. Being strong ain't, I'm gonna hold it together, I got everything. That's called mental health. That's called chronic stress. That's called there's going to be a problem somewhere, high blood pressure that is treatable if we move most of the time. But when we get into that anxiety, fight, flight, freeze all the time, that's not being strong. We need to tap in with a support group, a bunch of brothers that's going to support us and model true masculinity for us.
That's good, Chris. That's some good stuff. I like that. Pastor Ronnie, from a pastor's perspective, why is this topic important for the church to address?
Well, what goes on in the church, when I'm looking out at the church, I'm looking at families. Unfortunately, there's not many families, but God's master plan for the church is family. And so my goal is to try to replenish the church with God's divine order of family. And what happens there is when I'm trying to minister to men. I'm getting in a place to where they don't want to come, whatever reason is going on because of the ministry, probably at home. You can't minister at the church and not be able to minister at home. Many men fall apart because of their assignment. They don't have an assignment because they're not thirsty for the word of God in that sense. And what I have to do is minister to people, and I have to be patient, I have to be kind, and I have to be able to let them know what God is really trying to work with them with. They've been whipped a lot by not having an assignment. The wives probably are on them about doing something for the Lord. They want to follow them, but they can't follow a parked car. So they have to be able to get up. They won't get up and do anything because they've just been beaten down into this societal expectation of what I'm supposed to be, and I'm not being that. There is a right way to suffer, though. There is a right way to suffer, and that is to suffer for the righteousness of Christ. Now, that's a good way. That's what you're supposed to suffer for. Without relationship, there can be no relationship with Christ without suffering. But we are talking about people are suffering because of guilt, anxiety, laziness, all of the issues, all of the woes that we have accepted in our lifetime that we seem to not want to let go. One thing is for sure, we cannot do this within our own flesh. We try to do this with our willpower. You can't do it with your willpower. We have a help. We have a sure help in the Lord Jesus Christ that can lift us up from that mud that we've been waddling around in. We've lived so long. We've lived so long without any kind of order in our lives. Now we find the Lord, and we come into the church, and so we're looking around to find what we're supposed to be doing, and that's good. But at the same time, we have to be diligent in pursuing Christ in such a way that we can no longer deal with guilt, anxiety, and slothfulness, and all of the issues that we've always dealt with in our life. So the church is trying to deal with men in that capacity to lead their families. They feel guilty that they're not leading properly. There's been a role reversal to some degree where the women are doing all of the things that the men should be doing, and the men are doing, they think you're more than a paycheck. We're more than a paycheck. And sometimes we get looked at only as monetary. But God is calling us to a spiritual birth. And as we answer that, then our mental can be healed and set free and delivered, and we can go on.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Terrence, Do you mind? Are you ready to share a little bit about your mental health journey?
Oh yeah, sure. When I first noticed that I was suffering from mental health issues was back in February of 2008. That's when I was struggling with auditory, tactile, and vision hallucinations.
Mm.
And I went to go seek help. I noticed it, but I didn't go seek help right away. Not right away. At first, I thought it was just a phase that I was just going through. I thought that maybe I'll get over it. Um, Maybe it was just something that I was just going through. And next thing you know, it just got worse and worse over the time. As time kept going, I got worse. And with that being said, I I gave in. I went to go see a therapist. I started getting medicine. Everything started working, and God led me down that path. God led me down that path to go seek the help, and I'm not at 100%. I'm not at 100%, but I'm working my way there. I am working my way there.
Man.
I struggled for a long time. It's been 18 years,
Mm.
18 long years since I've noticed this. I probably went through it way before then, but that's when I did notice it back in February of 2008. Um, Hearing voices, uh, seeing things that wasn't there, feeling things. That's where the tactile comes in at. Uh, and I take my mental health very, very seriously, very seriously. One time I was in class and I had an episode. Yeah, I had an episode. And those are the scariest things that you can go through. I was off of my meds. I thought that I was feeling good. And that's what everybody say once they're when they think that they reached a point of where you don't have to go see a therapist no more. You don't need to get your injections, or you don't have to take your pills anymore. So I thought I was feeling good, and I wasn't. I wasn't. This is something that I have to deal with for the rest of my life, and I don't mind doing it. I don't mind dealing with it. I don't mind dealing with it because I know I'm seeking the right help. I'm seeking the right help, and I'm going down the right path in order for me to have my mental stability, corrected.
Yeah.
So like I said, 18 years, it's been a long time, and I got a lifetime to go of this, but I'm gonna work through it, and I'm gonna get through it like I have been every day. It's been times to where it made me quit jobs, made me ruin relationships, uh, made me fall out with my family, made me turn my back on friends. I done been through it all. But now with me seeking this help, talking to my therapist, getting my injections on a monthly basis, the right medicine and the right people to talk to, it has helped me. It has really helped me. And it has led me down a path of righteousness, a path of greatness, a path of it's unexplainable. And I couldn't be more happier than I am right now today.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
beautiful, Terrence. That's
Thank
so
you.
beautiful. To God be the glory.
Thank you.
Yes. I've watched the journey, and it's been a beautiful thing to watch him just come into the man of God that he requiring him to. And it's important to have men that are transparent enough to share their stories, because that whole mental health, and whether it's depression and anxiety or whatever it is that you're going through, and even as Terrence shares, men holding in. And so, like he even said about, being in class and was able to teach the other guys what was happening. And that's a beautiful thing. And he always said he wanted to do this work and share his story. And so I'm very, very excited about having him here today.
Thank you.
Malcolm, can you share a little bit about the importance of the work that you do with men and young brothers and meet young boys and all that. Can you share that?
Yes, ma'am. Terrence, thank you for sharing, bro. Proud of you, man. Keep going.
Thank you.
Um, so as mentioned, I work in the music space as a producer, and then on the business side as a music publisher as well. And I actually started making music as a kid um, because I just wasn't good with my words and wasn't good at explaining how I felt, but I could translate some of that through the music.
Hmm.
And my music for me became a safe place, somewhere I can go. I didn't have nobody to talk to when I didn't know how I was feeling, and I just needed to get something out. And really, that work, creating that safe space, is ultimately what I do now. A few of my good brothers and I started our company with the objective of just supporting, local talent and independent artists and songwriters. But looking out and seeing some of the work that we've done, we realize that we're really creating, safe spaces. A lot of men, they put their heart and their soul into their music. As Minister Gary was saying, the barbershop is usually that first place of therapy where we can go and vent. And a lot of people treat music the same way. So the work that I do and being able to collaborate with other men that are getting in a booth or writing songs about what they're going through, whether it's traumatic, whether it's exciting, whether it's sad, like they have somewhere that they know is safe, somewhere that's vulnerable, and I get to share that with a bunch of different men of all ages, old and young alike. We do a ton of workshops and programming with the youth, helping them, really take that opportunity with music and find that safe space for themselves. So just everything along those lines is what we do as far as the work and creating, a place for somebody to come and create music and really show up as their most vulnerable self.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I know you'll be talking a little bit more about what you're doing, what you've gone through in your journey. So we appreciate that. Gary, as a former football player, can you reflect on the unique pressures athletes face that may discourage them from being vulnerable?
That's a great question. I mean, just football. When you say football, you're talking about a dominant sport, like where you just dominate. Your goal is to dominate another man that's across you. And with dominance, vulnerability, them things is like completely opposite from each other of what you're supposed to be. And then you go through the part of it where everybody is pumping you up or, telling you how great you are. And this is, I'm talking about when I played before the social media era. So this was by the newspaper. You really was like that. When somebody told you was good or somebody said something, it wasn't your little highlight clips. They had came and seen what you did and you were great, like you were good. And then, talking about from the time as a little boy, them telling you how good you are, you can't show no vulnerability there. Like there's nowhere to show that at. There's no conversation to have that. Our coaches were so hardcore. I remember being 10 years old, we got cussed out for about 2 hours and it was normal. Like nobody said nothing. I think one of our teammates' mom finally came over and told the coach after 2 hours, she said, Jackie, they didn't had enough. Okay. They didn't had enough. You can let them go. We didn't even practice that day, but it was normal.
Yeah.
So just those pressures of expectations and what people expect of you. And you got to be so tough. And like I said, football is just like one of the most dominant things you can do, especially the time. And it's more of a finesse game now, which I love. And it's more safety oriented. But when we was coming up, it was things called the bull in the ring, where you put one player in the middle of a circle with all the players and the coach will blow the whistle and they come and try to knock you on your butt. And you had to make sure it didn't happen. Like that was the goal. It didn't happen at all. So you got that going on, and nobody really understanding. So the men that was raising us, as great as they were, and as effective as were, and great role models, their mental health was messed up. So what do you think they was pouring down to us at the time? So we're sort of the new generation that's actually saying, okay, it's okay. And even guys my age still don't really understand it like that so much. But just being an athlete and just being pumped up so much, it's hard to be vulnerable. But then when you really realize that football players are probably the most sensitive athletes that you're going to come across when you really get to talk to them on a normal basis. So I would say them expectations of being a tough guy, it's hard to show that vulnerability. And that's why in my career now, and especially when I was in high school, I made my boys hug me all the time. I don't care how big they was. They would give me a hug during the day. And they got used to it. I mean, it was even a joke one time. They said, Mr. Tate, you the only dude that can suspend me for 10 days and give me a hug afterwards, and I'm cool with it. But you want them to feel comfortable about that, so they got somebody to talk to, because you're trying to change up the landscape of our community with a different group, with the next generation. So hopefully that answered the question.
It did. It did. That was great.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. Chris,
Yes, ma'am.
where did the message "Real Men Don't Cry" come from?
That's an excellent question because it's multifold. You would think, obviously, one man passing it down to their son is the ultimate choice, right? However, I grew up in a house full of women and a matriarch, and I said something one day, and it was, "Don't you ever take nothing out of this house again." So it starts there, and that was my aunt telling me that, and I was sharing a story, and I mentioned it to a neighbor who we was really close with, and that was the message. On the other hand, you got the snitches get stitches.
Mm,
So it's just and culturally based. And again, we getting back into the systemic nature of bad behavior. Um, biblically, it tells us to take, those thoughts captive. And that's what we have to start doing is correcting or righting the ship with this systemic family stuff that's passed from generation to generation that's treated as the golden word. And, we got to get back to the community taking care of each other. We can't do that if we're not talking and sharing stories. And with that mentality, it sets men up to suffer in silence. Most of my clients, when I was in private practice, I get who have been suffering in silence and they can't take it anymore.
yeah.
When doing marriage work, I was normally the last contact before the attorney. That's how long it went.
Mm-hmm.
So this suffering in silence. And another reason I just came to the top was a lot of people just don't want to walk into that emotion because they don't, as I mentioned earlier, don't have all the crayons in the box. Or, believe it or not, it's more difficult to change, and change is unpredictable. So I live within my boundaries of what I have already. So I isolate because we don't talk.
Yeah.
So we walking past each other. I remember when it became popular, when they asked, "How you doing?" and somebody would respond. When you speak, "Hey, how you doing?" The other person halfway down the hall anyway. But to stop people and say, "How are you really doing?" And as I mentioned, we only see a lot of men for the first time in these families cry in a funeral, and that's acceptable in some cases. And as we all know, crying has properties in it that help us calm down. Now we back onto that anxiety piece. So when we talk about real men don't cry, it's just another systemic issue of inappropriate masculinity. A masculine man, it's okay to cry. And that's what we have to teach to each other.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that.
Mm.
This question is for everyone, but I want to start with you, Terrence, if I could. And can you relate to the term "I got this" as a barrier from getting help?
Sorry.
Okay.
In this term of how I got this, of how I look at it, it's like facing the man in the mirror.
Mm.
Like you got to look that man in the mirror and you got to tell yourself like, "Hey, I got this. I got this." You just can't be messing around. You got to go seek the help. You just can't be just pushing it off to the side or anything.
Thanks, Terrence. I think we're having some technical difficulties. So, for my other men who wants to chime in on, can you relate to the term "I got this" as a barrier to getting help?
Yeah, I can pop in. It's based off pretty much what I just talked about. I know when I say it, one, I just don't want to be bothered. So if I want to learn something, I'm like, I got it. I gotta go work on it. However, there's no follow up. So we start following up, it'll be a different story. Two, as I mentioned, it's really difficult if you don't have the tools or trust the system or don't have the faith to walk into this stuff. That feeling in your stomach, in your throat. So it's so easier to cope with a numbing strategy. So when a lot of times where I hear I got this, it's a numbing strategy to where I got it. Let me move on from it. And that's another thing. And a lot of times, like Terrence mentioned, we just don't seek help. And that's just normally taught to us. Oh, I got it. We good. And they go on and living their life. Like I always tell everybody need a good therapist. Just try it out.
Yeah.
However, there's so many things to it. I got this. And we don't, in our self-talk, we say some nasty things to ourselves, but we really don't pay attention to the things we say to ourselves and get challenged doing it. And that's where the support group come in. So when you hear somebody say, I got this, we need to slow them down and say, what does that mean? And then they can explain that to us. And then the support group follows up with them. If you got it, what have you done on this journey? So they may have, and if they tell us what that means and they got it, that's one story. But to just say, I got it.
Yeah.
They need a support group to challenge them and hold them accountable to what they're going to plug into their GPS.
That's good, Chris. Anybody else want to chime in on this?
Yeah, I can chime in. For me, I got this was really it came to be a response from attempting to get some help or trying to be vulnerable or share something I was feeling, and it got rejected or it wasn't received or they didn't hear me. There's been situations where I've been vulnerable with somebody and they turned around and used it against me when they got upset. And just that all of that, it's like, you know what? I don't need nobody else. You get in a situation where you attempt, to share and be vulnerable, and it's not received. So as a defense mechanism, it's you know what, I got this. I tried to put my heart on my sleeve. I tried to be vulnerable. I tried to share. I tried to express, and it didn't work out for me as I thought I would. So you know what, I got it. I don't need to talk to nobody. I don't want to take my issues to nobody else, especially if they're going to use it against me in the future, or I got to defend myself later on down the road. It's like, you know what, it's cool. I got it. And ultimately, I learned that that's more of a reflection on them than it is on you. But nonetheless, I got this, for me, happened to be just a defense mechanism learned over time.
I like that. Anyone else want to chime in on that? And I love that people chiming in and sharing some things during this time. And so I want to say, keep asking the questions. I want to say, if you have, keep making the comments, keep asking questions, and we'll get them to whoever we need to towards the end. But continue to share this with other men that you might know, that you might be here on this webinar listening to this. Join us. We have a little bit more time, so just join us. Someone said we're not sure who we can trust and not use it against us. Did somebody else say they wanted to chime in on relating to I got this as a barrier to getting help?
Yeah, because I had got cut off right there, so I want to get back to finish saying what I was saying. So just let me go back to the beginning, because like I said, like my definition of I got this is like me facing the man in the mirror, like I stated before, and like when I was suffering, when I was going through all of my mental issues, like when I was having episodes and things like that, I would say like, hey, I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this. Like I would keep repeating myself with saying that of me. This when I was first procrastinating on going to go seek the help
Mm.
before I actually went to go seek the help. If you guys get what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
Now, I just kept on just saying that, but the longer I said it, the worse it got. And then one day I finally woke up and I really said, I got this. And then that's when I went to go seek the help.
Wow. That's good for others that are listening to hear. That's powerful. That's powerful right there.
Yeah, so that's why I said it's all like my definition of it is like it's just facing the man in the mirror.
To thy own, what's Miss Ellis's thing? To thy own self be true.
Mm-hmm.
My saying, to my own self be true.
Yeah.
All right, we got some good stuff, but the conversation is powerful. I'm really, really loving it. Pastor Ronnie, and I'm going to ask Minister Gary, what role has the church played unintentionally hindering our men's emotional health? And if somebody else wants to chime in, you can hold your hand up and we'll let you do that. But I want those two to chime in first. What role has the church played in unintentionally hindering our men's emotional health?
I believe a lot of times when we're working with the men, there's a tad of legalism in there. We're preaching a strong word and we feel as though that they have to get that word and run with it right then and there. And it's being taught within no compassion to the degree of the person that we're giving it to. We're trying to get them to run this race without being truly discipled. And we just are looking for the end result of a person who is procrastinating, who's doing the same thing that everybody is saying they're suffering to some degree. And we're looking for them to, we say things like, you've been in the same place from last year to this year, you should be going somewhere. Unintentionally, even though it's right, because they should be taking that word and working that word. But we're not the judge of that. That person has to be able to get that word when they get it. And move with it. And we just need to be a little bit more compassionate and truly really disciple people the proper way. And we don't really mean that, but we're just too excited because we know what God can do. We know what he did in my life. And I'm saying he can do the same for you. Come on, get up there and get it done. Get it done. and we just get so excited. And we look in there next year, they're still sitting in the same place. They're still struggling. They're still suffering. They're not taking the word and running with it. And that's I just have to really truly calm down and just really be mindful that, they're not you. These are God's people.
Yeah.
And God's going to work with them, not you. You can't do it for them. And we don't really mean it. We just know we're just too excited to understand, to see what God has done, in my 71 years. I've seen him do some fantastic things, and he'll do it for you. Okay.
Gary. Thanks, Pastor.
Thanks, Pastor. That was wonderful. I think unintentionally, I just like I said, going back, just shoot, the deacons at the church back in the day, they had their 3-piece suits on and everything, and just had a stone face on them and all the time. I mean, how was you supposed to be emotional looking at somebody like that? You couldn't talk to them or say anything to them at all. Besides them telling you to sit down and get out the restroom or something like that, coming up that way. But shout out to Bishop Moore, because he was the first pastor I ever heard before in my life that would talk about himself in the sermon, talk about the things that he was struggling with. And just once you hear that, you're like, okay, I don't got to be perfect. And, shout out to you, because my journey, I was done with church pretty much until I went to New Birth.
Yeah.
And so, so I don't think it's the same anymore. I know down here in Cincinnati at Christ Emmanuel, we have a men's Monday where we meet every Monday, and we about 40 to 50 men at each session. And one of my pastor's main thing he says all the time is he can deal with a cheater, he can deal with a thief. The one person he can't deal with is somebody to go talk about what we was talking about in Men's Monday. And that's when he's done with you. He said he can deal with everything else, but he can't deal with somebody that's going to betray that trust of the brothers when we in those rooms talking to each other. So I think it's beginning to change now. I think we're starting to change. I think the church is starting to change. And what Pastor said was amazing, because we wouldn't be us if everybody could act like us. You know, God positioned us for a reason to assist and help others out like that. And at the same time, like I said, Jesus is great, but so is a therapist. What Terrence was going through, it wasn't no hands laying on hands on him going to take care of what he was going through. He needed to go get help and go get treatment for what he was going through. And that it all comes hand in hand. They never tell somebody that has a heart condition, yeah, we're going to pray for you, but you need to go see the cardiologist too. So your mental health is the same way with that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep. Hey, Ms. Yvette, that was a good point. That's what I was going to mention, is that sometimes it hasn't happened to me personally, but it's out there to where they didn't have enough faith or to trust in God to heal them. And like the brother mentioned, you know, in other areas, you rush into that person and you trust your doctor. You'll do anything your doctor tell you do. So when we talk about people having passion and purpose and being positioned to treat others, have to stop overlooking that.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Malcolm. I see you shaking. I think you got something for us.
I'm just agreeing. Yeah, I appreciate everybody sharing, and yeah, I'm agreeing. I've been through my little pieces of all of this, so no, I didn't have anything additional to add, but just an agreement.
Thank you so much. And so, Terrence, the question for you is like, what helped you? And I think you really kind of already answered it, but what helped you to realize it was okay to ask for help and then follow through? And I think what you kind of talked about it a little bit. Do you have any more to add to that?
Oh, yes.
Mirrors, okay.
Yes. I can add to it. It was basically just me and myself and I. Me, myself, and I. It, like I said, I woke up one day and I was tired. I was on the edge. Not as far as, you know, getting ready to like commit suicide or anything, but I was on the edge of like, I'm just done with this. I need to get over this hump. And then that's when I realized, like, okay, who can help me out? And then once I started seeking my therapist, and then my therapist was letting me know, hey, have you told anybody about this? Have you talked to anybody about this? I'm like, I just talked to my wife. And then he let me know, like, hey, it's best if you just start, getting it off of your chest, So then I started speaking to my mom about it, started speaking to my friends about it. Instead of bottling it up in, I just start releasing. And then I just started letting them know, because I would used to act like a little weird around people. But now then once they see like how I was suffering, now they accept who I am. They accept who I am. They accept my auditory hallucinations, my visual hallucinations, my tactile hallucinations, but they help me. They help me get through it. They still treat me the same as the same person as the first day that I met them.
Yeah.
So none of this was none, like they don't treat me no different than they treat the next person. So that's what helped me really get the help and seek it all the way through and follow through with it. Like I spoke on it before. Like I said, just woke up one day and next thing you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I'm breaking protocol, Miss Yvette, but you expect that of me.
I do.
Wow. So for you, was there one event or you were just tired?
That's good.
No, I was just tired.
Okay.
I was tired. I was tired of because I wanted to know what was actually wrong with me. So I thought it was just a phase I was going through. I thought that maybe, okay, this is just this. I knew something wasn't normal. I knew something wasn't normal. And then once I started getting my injections and started taking my pills, and I started feeling great. I started holding on to jobs longer. My relationships got stronger. Me and my wife's relationship got stronger. Me and my kids' relationships got stronger. Everything was stronger. Once I was able to talk to somebody and talk it through and follow their footsteps, the therapist's footsteps, shall I say, of giving me smart, measurable goals and stop goals and
Yeah.
things of that, and helping me set a standard for myself in order to make everyday living better for me.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I know for a fact that it's the truth because I've
Mhm.
watched the journey and been a part of the journey. And I mean, like even me, he has taught me and taught, like I said, other men about
Hmm.
this disease. Because you know, when you don't know, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. And we see individuals that are especially African American men that are going through schizophrenic, bipolar, all those things that we don't know. We assume that it's drug induced, and a lot of times it's not.
Yeah, a lot of times it's not, because I'm diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic. I can openly say that now.
Yeah.
And I can freely say that now without hiding it, without nobody being judgmental, because in my mind, I am who I am, and I'm blessed to be here today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's powerful.
Hmm.
That's beautiful too to have you be amongst these men too, as we're sharing this topic.
Yep.
Malcolm, we're gonna go to you. What tools does your organization offer to engage men in their mental health healing journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been trying to figure out the best way to put it. But I think the biggest tool that my organization and everybody connected to our organization offers is community. And it's a community full of um, people who they know enough of themselves to accept you however you are. So Terrence, to your point, it's a group of people who have looked in the mirror and constantly said, I got this. And I think that's what is unique about artists and creators is they spend so much time getting to know themselves
Hmm.
that when somebody else shows up, they give them the same space that they've given themselves to show up. And the community we built through our organization, through our business, through our partners, we've partnered with More Life. In the past, we've done workshops, we've done songwriting workshops, we've done business development workshops, and we partner intentionally with organizations like More Life to come in and let us know how our community can be better served with your resources. So in that community, not only will you find the individuals that you can, seek and confide in, we'll make sure you have access to the resources within the community that allow you to continue to better yourself and further down your journey.
Okay.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that plug. That's morelifetoday.org. 614-626-5771, and we'll put that on the screen if you're interested. And what More Life does is that we're that bridge. We're that bridge before you get into counseling, before you even, if you feel like you never want to go to a counselor, we're emotional support persons. Yet we do have various counselors. We have Pastor Ronnie is one of our emotional support persons that helps us with the men that we are working with. And just like Malcolm was saying, the whole collaboration in the community. So More Life is the bridge to remind you that even after tragedy, there is more life. Even after trauma, there is more life. Even as men suffering in silence, there is more life. So write our number down, get that information, and we'll put it up again before we finish up. I'm going to go to Chris. I think I'm right. Chris, where did the message? And we're going to move it a little quicker because we have a couple minutes each because it's getting close to that time. So where did the message "real men don't talk about their feelings" come from? Chris, you might have shared already about that when we said real men don't cry, but you can kind of.
Yeah, it's still all in the same bucket. Again, when you sit down in front of some of these men, they come in and they tell you their culture and what you believe in. And again, I just have to teach them to speak the language of connection 101. I handle my feelings well because they don't have the vocabulary or the emotional insight to speak the language. And how me and you always talked about we seeing these men get in trouble,
Yeah.
but it's a mental health issue. And so we looking at them from the legal side, like probation officers and police officers, but this is a mental health issue. Like Terrence described, if we can get them what they need, they're gonna change, because this stuff is helpful. You just got to manage this, no different than diabetes or something else.
I appreciate that, Chris. We have a message. We have a question in the comments. And I think she's especially in the church, because incorrect definition of submission. I'm gonna throw this to you, Pastor Ronnie, and then Gary, you can back it up a little bit. Do you think domestic violence, mental health issues, or a power play, especially in the church, because incorrect definition of submission?
Wow.
I don't know if we got enough time to answer that one. That's a loaded
Right.
question.
Let's look at it in answering. It's almost like what we talked about the church and unintentionally.
Mhm. What do you think?
So when we look at domestic violence, and when we look at mental health, and when we say a power play, let's talk about those two things because of an incorrect definition of submission. So do you think domestic violence and mental health relate to submission, or how the church defines submission? Does that sound better, guys? Is that helpful?
What I'm hearing is the fact that domestic violence evolves because of the lack of submission from the female, from a companion. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, but do you think that the church has taught submission in a way that it is utilized in a domestic violence form? So a perpetrator is using that, and especially, let's be honest, especially in the church, where a man may not think that he is the perpetrator of domestic violence. However, you are my wife, and the word of God says for you to submit to me. Or they're being financially abusive or emotionally abusive, Pastor. So look at that. Is that because of an incorrect definition of submission, you think?
Wow. I've seen it in everything that you just mentioned. I've seen it in every way that you just got through saying. And I don't know how to answer. I've seen it just like that. The improper definition of submission.
Yes.
But of lately, because of my teaching, we don't teach that. And it's been such a long time that I have not seen, that type of domestic violence within my assembly. But I know it goes on, and I know people get this submission thing messed up. I know it's there. And I'm really not knowing how to lay hands on it and to minister to that, because it's not, a present problem with my assembly. But I know it's real. I definitely know it's real.
All right. Gary, your thoughts? I'm sorry. Gary.
No, I was going to say, just remember we got the godmother of domestic violence on here with us. So whoever asked that question, if they got a relationship just due to the amount of time, they can pull Miss Yvette aside as well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave it there so we can go on.
Yeah.
Lately, submission has been a bad word. The S word, where most people was thinking it was sexual. No, it's submission. Submission.
And taking it out the vows and everything else. So when we look at that domestic violence piece, that in the church, I think that the church historically sometimes has justified behaviors because of submission. And so we could talk about that. We'll have to find another time where we'll get y'all pastors together and kind of talk about that. Sister Johnson, we'll do that.
I wrote Hollywood. I wrote Hollywood and told them to take Color Purple off the TV. Never show that show again.
You probably
Never
did
show
that.
that again. Huh?
Probably did. So, okay. So, Gary, I'm gonna run to Gary right quick. Gary, as a principal, what would you say to parents who may have a child who is struggling with mental health? Since you're a principal and you see that the mental health piece,
Mhm.
how do you tell a mother or a father, or how does that process work for you?
So we're blessed in Cincinnati Public Schools to have a mental health partner in each one of our schools. So we already have a partner that's in the school. So if our families have insurance or if they have care source, they're able to get that treatment. But to answer your question, it's got to be that relationship. Like, what type of relationship do you got with the parents? So you got to build that relationship with them to even bring that conversation up to them. And so once you have that relationship established with those parents and you're seeing what's going on, for me, it's pretty, I bring it to their attention like, hey, and I just feel like this. Anytime you're from the inner city, you got some trauma going on. And I don't care how strict your family was. Mom, I lived in a strict household, but she couldn't do nothing about that house across the street from us. What was going on over there? Like as strict as they were, ride y'all's bike to the corner and come back. They couldn't do nothing about when we was walking home from Mohawk or something, or we was coming down the corner store because you seen something. The trauma was still there of things that you seen that you shouldn't have seen as a child. And so my babies in downtown Cincinnati, they see stuff that I can't even imagine what they go through. So, and I share with my parents too. So, I mean, we're so close. I share with them like, hey, I see a therapist. And when they hear that, they be like, you do what, Miss Tate? I said, yeah. I said, I got stuff going on too. I said, and I'm watching my baby right now and the stuff that they're doing, that ain't natural. And I got somebody up there that will be able to talk to them. And I think since the therapist is in the school setting, it makes it a little more easier for them to go do that. So it's all about relationship. When you're dealing with anybody's kid, you got to have a relationship with that parent to even bring that up to them before they can get into it. So a lot of my teachers of the other color, they always come to me like, hey, Miss Tate, can you talk to da-da-da's mom? Because we really think they could benefit from seeing our therapist. And I'm like, okay, I got you. I'll go talk to them about that. So that's how I do it.
And I'm going to lead on with this question. How can families support loved ones without judgment who struggle with mental health? And that's we're going to wind it down with that.
That's a great question. I think just personally speaking, I've been through plenty. And again, for time's sake, we won't spend time going down that rabbit hole. But I got introduced to a therapist when I was a teenager. And as a young adult, I re-entered therapy for a very long time. And what I learned is the best thing I can do to support my loved ones is learn how to support myself. I had to learn how to show up for me. I had to learn how to process my own feelings. I had to learn how to just really sit with my own thoughts and be there for myself. Listen to my own thoughts and gather that. And in that, and learning how to do that for me, that's how I learned how to do it for other people. It's like, man, because in that journey, you realize, dang, I'm really not special. Everybody's going through something.
Yeah.
So if I need this much time to get myself together, I can only imagine how much time somebody else may need. So just learning how to give them some of that time. It's like, look, I know you're going through something. I don't know what you're going through. I'm going through something here. Here's maybe some of the stuff I'm going through. Let me be vulnerable with you. Let me share some stuff with you, and efforts build that relationship so that you feel comfortable to share that back with me. I would just say, as a family member, learning how to do that for myself and show up for myself really taught me how to show up for my other family and realize they're just as human, as I am, and going through their own stuff. So let me show up for them as best as I learn how to show up for me.
I love his answer right there. And that's what I'm going to just add on to what he was saying. Like you said, it takes time. Like it takes time for everybody. When I think about people's health journeys, I don't beat nobody up about, them getting themselves help, because it took me time to go do what I was going to do, physically health wise. And it got to be the same way with mental health. Just because you get in therapy now and you done changed up and everything, now you expect everybody else to move as fast as you did. But it took you about 44 years to get there.
Yeah.
So just be patient with them, share with them. Like I had to tell Ms. Vet, I tell my brother the year younger than me, he gonna tell me that I'm his therapist. And I said, nah, I can't be that for you, brother. I'm too biased on certain situations. So you start talking about mom and dad the wrong way, and I'm gonna have a problem with it. And the therapist is gonna be cool because we was in that same house together. So what you seen was not what I seen. So I can't be that from. But I love what Malcolm said. We got to be patient with them and let them get there. And you got to have your mental health right first. And when they can see that change in you, and they know that you've been through some of the same things that they have, and they see you handling situations differently, then they're going to come and ask you, okay, how do you got this? Because we went back to I got this. How do you got it now? And you got it because I went to get help. You know, with them Thursdays between 8 to 9, and you don't talk to me or I don't answer the phone, I'm getting my help right there. Okay, so that's what's going on. So, but I think that timing is like you. And I think about you even with me and my church journey. Like you were so smooth with how you got me back in the church. Like it was come over your house and get a meal. Let's go to the movie. Let's go to the movie. Something like that. I'm coming. It was so, but you took your time with me, and you knew it had to be on my timing for me to do it. So unless it's emergency, you got to let them work it out in their own time and let them and God, figure that out together.
That's awesome. Pastor Ronnie, how can families support loved ones without judgment who struggle with mental health?
Well, with any disease, which is I believe it's a disease, mental health is a disease. It's the same thing that we did when we were in rehab, and I was in rehab, and it's the same process that the family gets together and they support. They don't judge. They're there for you, but they don't enable you, but they encourage you in the right, proper way. That's what I know to do. Because I've had to do that with my own family members. I had to be there for them and not ask them, how did you get this way? I just had to be there for them.
Amen. That's great.
Yeah, how I think families can support without judgment is basically just sit and talk with them. That's what I did. I sat down. I had a talk, with my mother, with my stepfather, with my aunts, with my cousins.
Wow.
And they accepted. They, like I said before, they know me, and they accepted me for who I am.
Yeah.
And they were proud. They were proud that I did come out, and I let them know that I was suffering from this illness. This illness has taken over my mental.
Yeah.
And they did not judge me whatsoever. They still looked at me the same.
Beautiful.
And we were still just doing family functions and having fun and doing things like that. And but I would basically say just sit down, have that deep conversation with them.
They freezing up on us. Okay, Chris.
Yep. Doing more things like this. Now they hearing stories. They got Terrence's personal story. We all got a personal story. Like he talk about in the streets of Cincinnati. I grew up in Steubenville, and you still see stuff. So trauma is not a 10-car accident or somebody having to get shot. And that's what we have to understand. Also, the athletes have to keep speaking up.
Yeah.
About their journey. So many people look up to these figures and listen. Oh, is that what that means? That's what they said I got. Another thing, what I did was I left private practice to coach. They wasn't going to come to therapy. However, I can get them into coaching and then talk about therapy. I can't be their therapist once I'm their coach, but we can have that conversation. And after they trust me, I can help them connect with the therapist I know in some type of level who's legitimate and help them that way.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's been great. I hope to do this again because it seems like everybody started becoming like transparent and being excited and kind of settling in what we're talking about. So I do look forward to us getting together again and kind of sharing and some more things. I'm getting to go over to Malcolm's studio and stuff and see the work he's doing, having Gary come up here. Oh, now, Terrence, we got to have you come back to Columbus, visiting Pastor Ronnie at his church on Sundays on Hamilton Road, Anointed Touch Ministries. Chris, he'd be trying to help me with the workout thing, but I'm just not submissive enough. it's been like, I'm thankful that God gave me each of you, and each of you all did not, y'all met my expectations, but most of all, y'all met God's expectations in our community. So I know that you're going to hear more from me about people wanting to talk to you all. We continue to run this for 30 days on our New Birth Christian Ministry site. And remember, if anybody is still listening, morelifetoday.org, 614-626-5771. That's morelifetoday.org. Did you want to say something, Gary?
I just want to send a shout out to my little sister because she always in the background handling business. So shout out to Charlie for making sure the questions was up, making sure we got on the StreamYard. I love her, and she know that. But she be in the background handling business all the time. I love my little sister.
Amen. She loves you too. So you all have a good night, and I look forward to talking to you all soon again. Blessings to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Have a good night, y'all.
That was great.
Nice